AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage on ESPN San Antonio is presented by AA Best Bail Bonds and your local Geico office on Pat Booker Road.
Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. So you talk for a living. And you're also doing radio interviews.
Yes.
So do you just after you leave here, you just go sit in a quiet room and
I have to actually go be on TV for the rest of the afternoon. So I get, I get to
never stops.
Talk more. Yeah, which everybody wants to hear me. Like my wife said, when I played, I never talked, and now nobody can shut me up. So. Yeah, she's sick of me, which is always good that these things come around so I can leave and just go talk for a while, and then I can come home and just get bossed around. So that's marriage, right?
Yeah, right. That's the way it works for sure.
Okay.
Mark Schlereth joining us on Radio Row. Ari Temkin with David Chancellor back in the studio with us. The thing that I find so interesting about the Broncos team this year is we're a society that we are just obsessed with the quarterback position and the production of the quarterback position. And I've often thought of the criticisms of Tony Romo in the context of, look at this team 1 through 53. And for all of the Peyton Manning-led record-breaking offenses that we've seen, Mark, for this team to get to the Super Bowl, that is such a celebration of the reality of football, which, as you know, is a 1 through 53 game. We're enamored with the quarterback.
Right.
It makes sense. But the teams that win, it's not just about the quarterback play. And Manning's had all these great seasons, but this is the team, the third team that he's played on to get to the Super Bowl, in part because of how good they are defensively, how good they are everywhere else as well.
Well, mostly defensively and special teams-wise, because offensively there's a lot of warts, but they have made up for those warts with the way they play defense. This team has played in 11 contests. They've won 11 contests that were won by 7 points or less. That's the most 7-point or less contests won in the last 15 seasons. And so at some point, that's not coincidence.
Right.
At some point, that's because we're really good and we can make a play when a play needs to be made. And most of those plays happen to be made on the defensive side of the ball. So you're right. We get enamored because we want to quantify stuff and we want to look at quarterback statistics. And because those things are easy. They're easy to look at. When you're looking at defense and you're looking at some of the other positions, those become more eyeball test type of situations. A lot of us don't have the knowledge to look and say, what are they doing? Offensively, you talked about Peyton Manning struggling this year. The one thing he's done, he's embraced the fact that he isn't what he once was, and as long as I don't turn it over, we got a great special teams, we got a great defense, we can be in these games. And to have that mentality when you've drugged teams that to me were pretty average teams to Super Bowls and to greatness, it says a lot about you being able to let go of that a little bit and say, man, I'm going to rely on the rest of these guys. And I think that's what you've seen coming down the stretch here with the playoffs. It has made this season really unique in Denver. I live in Denver. It's a really unique time in Denver.
Especially, I'm sure, over the last 5 years where they're setting records and just doing
55 touchdowns, and then you go into Seattle and you just get ramshackled. And one of the things, that John Elway learned about when he was in that Super Bowl in Seattle, where Seattle just put it on the Denver Broncos, there's a couple things. Defensively, we've got to be a lot better. And athletically, we've got to be a lot better on, from 1 to 53, especially on special teams. Like, we have, no offense to Jacob Tamme if you're listening, we have Jacob Tamme on that team running down on kickoff cover. Like, Jacob Tamme, that came into this league from Kentucky, he's never hit anybody. He's a wide receiver, tight end, slash hybrid. And he's running. I mean, the mismatch on special teams alone in that game was eye-opening. Nobody talks about it, but you watch it from the opening kickoff when Holiday tries to take it from 9 yards deep in the end zone and gets smashed on the 10, and then we snap it over the head, and then it's just an opening kickoff in the second half. Percy Harvin takes it to the house, and you're like, we are so overmatched athletically on special teams that I think that's one of the big things that Elway addressed in the last 2 drafts. You look at this defense, you look at our special teams AFC Championship game hour. I'm on the team. You look at the AFC Championship game, and I mean, they in the third quarter they put Brady inside the 5 like 2 times. I mean, it's impossible with the crowd noise and stuff. So he has done a great job basically bolstering that roster on that side of the ball and on special teams.
Hey, Mark, this is Chance. I'm back in San Antonio. I was not cool enough to make the trip to Super Bowl 50.
You're a B team player, practice squad guy.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out, just hoping that Ari brings me back a media canteen. Listen, I want to ask you. You're a great person to ask this question of having played in a Super Bowl with a legend who is going to quit after or stop playing after that game. A, do you think that Peyton has told his teammates his decision? And B, whether he has or he hasn't, how difficult is that to kind of carry that idea of, man, we got to really, the whole win one for the Gipper, win one for Peyton Manning in his final NFL game?
Well, that's the beauty. That's the strength. First off, I don't think Peyton's told his dog what his plans are. I don't think Peyton will tell anybody.
You think he knows?
He's very secretive. You know what? I think he's leaning one way. But if he feels good and he has a great game, he may be able to talk himself into to going somewhere else and playing another season. But I think the writing's on the wall. I mean, I think you look at this year, and he would be leaning toward retirement, but maybe could be talked out of that. As far as, in any walk of life, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get philosophical on you here.
All right.
In any walk of life, when you do something for others as opposed to yourself, you're playing from a position of strength. You're working from a position of strength. When it becomes more important, great leadership happens when you care more about the people you lead than you care about yourself. That's when unbelievable things can happen. That's when miracles happen. That's when companies do incredible things, and that's when people start buying into being a part of something special. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the Broncos right now, and the thing about the Broncos in Super Bowl 32, you can talk to any guy that played on that team, myself included. We understood the narrative that was out there about John Elway, right?
Yep.
Couldn't win the big one. Lost, got drubbed in 3 Super Bowls. The Giants crushed him. The Redskins crushed him. The San Francisco 49ers crushed him. Didn't play well. Blah, 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 blah. We know how competitive he was. We knew how good he was. We knew what a great teammate he was. That game was about getting John a world championship. I mean, that game was about every guy forgetting about themselves and saying, man, we want to win this for John. Pat Bowlen held the Lombardi Trophy up and said, this one's for John. I mean, that's incredible when you have that kind of, belief system and you're playing for one another that way. Unbelievable things can happen. And Von Miller walked off the field in the AFC Championship game, and he had the most incredible game I think we've watched just about anybody have in a championship game. And he said, man, I played this for DeMarcus Ware. I played this for Peyton Manning. DeMarcus Ware's never been to a championship game. I think he's been to 1 or 2 playoff games. Peyton Manning, I want him to go out the right way. That's a position of power. As a matter of fact, Joe Ellis, who's been Pat Bowlen's right-hand man. Pat Bowlen's one of the great owners that owned a team in this league. He addressed the team on Friday before they came out to the Super Bowl. Talked to them about Pat. Talked to them about the history there. I mean, I think this team feels full circle. Like this one's for John. I think there's nothing that would satisfy John Elway more than holding up the Lombardi Trophy and saying, this one's for Pat.